Is Facebook on? There we go. Okay, we are now live on TikTok. We are also live on our Facebook live feed. How's everyone doing out there?
How's everyone doing out there?
My name is John Gardner. This is my wife and law partner, Radlin Mendoza, and we are the law firm Gardner and Mendoza Immigration Law here in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And this is our weekly Facebook Live and TikTok Live. Welcome to all you TikTok folks out there who are joining us as well.
Hey, guys.
So for several years, we came to you once a week to give you immigration updates, answer questions, and we stopped doing it for a little while, but we are back tonight because we feel like the time is right. There's a lot going on with immigration right now, and we think it's important to start coming to you once a week again so that we can get information out there. We want to make sure that everybody gets the correct information. Am we good there?
Yep, good.
We want to make sure that everybody's getting the correct information. I know that, you see things in the news, you see things on TikTok, you see things on Facebook, and some of it's accurate, some of it is not accurate. We want to make sure that we serve the community that includes our clients, and we want to make sure that you are getting the information that you need and that you're not scared of things that you don't need to be scared about, but that you're prepared for and being careful with the things that you really do need to be concerned about. So welcome. We're going to do this every week, and it's good to be back.
Yeah, right? It's good. Yeah. It's great to be back.
I know that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that, John and I started our law firm, Gardner Mendoza, 25 years ago. And when we told people that we did immigration, everyone, including attorneys, including neighbors, said, "Oh my gosh, immigration! What is immigration? Are you going to be busy enough to just have a law practice that just deals with immigration?" And we actually said yes, absolutely, because we were busy right off the bat. When we opened our law firm, there was a law called 245I, the Life Act, and it allowed family members as well as employers to petition for their employees and their family member and have them legalized in the United States if they were undocumented. So we had hundreds of clients in that situation, and we were able and had the privilege of being able to help legalize all these people, including a lot of wonderful workers in our jurisdiction who help build our region's bridges and roads and heavy construction. And we were lucky to be there, to be at the right place at the right time. So we've always been a very busy immigration law firm, and no one's asking us that anymore, right? No one's saying, immigration, what is that? Are you going to be busy enough? Now people are saying, you must be really busy. And indeed we are. And as John said, we want to just make sure that you all have the information that you need. And we're really not going to try to fearmonger, and we're not going to sensationalize, even though some of this stuff is pretty sensational. We're just going to let you know what the information is and how the information can help you and give you some tips and recommendations on what you should be doing as people who are watching us. Obviously, if you're watching us, you're interested in immigration. Maybe you have a family member who is impacted by immigration and some of these executive orders that have come out. And so we're here to give you that information. So first, we're gonna, kind of start off with what's going on. Like, it is, what is it, January 26th? President became the president on January 20th, and a whole lot of stuff has happened in the week. And the main thing right now of what you guys are watching and hearing is mass deportation, right? And do you want to let the folks know who are watching, like, what are the sort of the different levels of mass deportation of the people that we're talking about here? Thank you guys for the love. Really appreciate that.
So, again, we're an immigration law firm. We're lawyers. And so, we're not advocating folks doing things that are unlawful. Okay. We're attorneys first and foremost, but we represent immigrants. And so we want to make sure that, again, like I said, that the community that includes our clients is well informed about what's going on. And I want to start by saying that there is a lot going on, but the first message that we want to give you is to not be in a panic mode right now. Okay. Let's wait. Let's see how these things come out. But it's good to know what's going on, and it's good to be careful about the way you're conducting yourself, because things are changing right now, and they're changing pretty rapidly. And so, to Radlin's, asking me to put the different tiers out there. First is tier one. Where we are right now, just if you're curious, is really what I call like a tier one. The focus of the administration right now is on folks that have prior deportation orders that were never carried out, or where the person never left and they know the person is still in the United States. It includes people who have criminal records, particularly violent criminal records. That's who's being targeted first and foremost. All right. So if you don't fall into one of those categories, you can just breathe a little bit right now. Okay. Deep breath. Okay. They're not coming in my front door right now. That said,
yeah.
That said, this is not going to be as surgical as everybody might think. And the people that are advocates of it, it's not going to be as surgical as they say, because we've been here before. We've seen this before, where there's an attempt to target certain people. But whenever you're casting that net, there's always a chance that other people are going to get ensnared in it. We were here after 9/11. There was a huge crackdown after 9/11. Things got super tight, super strict with immigration.
Probably for 3 years.
For several years. And, the stated goal at the time was just to fight terrorism, protect the homeland, and to go after suspected terrorists, that kind of thing, which was completely understandable in the moment, and still is, quite frankly. But what we saw during that time was a lot of people getting caught up in this whole process that really were not the targets that they were looking for. And so there is a lot of danger out there, and we want to make sure people are aware of it. Okay.
Yeah. And how that happens is if you live in an apartment with several people, okay, let's just say you're undocumented, and ICE comes for, X guy, right? And he has a final order of removal. He never left. They know that. They're coming after him. Well, if you and the rest of your roommates are undocumented, you're most likely going to get ensnared in that you're going to get caught in the dragnet of when they ask you for documentation and they ask you what your legal status is. Now, John, who, for 20 years did criminal defense and immigration and criminal immigration, most of our clients in that area were undocumented, the vast majority of them. And John knows, and we know, and our team knows, when you ask a person what is their legal status in the United States, what do they say? What are your clients?
My clients always just said undocumented, illegal, no papers,
illegal.
Something to that effect.
Right.
Always.
And that's what we want to talk to you about today a little bit, that, you don't have to answer any questions. Now, it's a double-edged sword. You don't answer questions. Maybe they take you in and get these questions out of you if they have the suspicion. But it's a really kind of a dangerous, scary atmosphere out there where, if someone has a warrant to go into your apartment and you've got these federal agents and they're saying, what's your immigration status? It takes a lot of guts to say, I don't want to talk to you. I would like to speak to an attorney. It's tough to do that. But
it's very tough.
When you're in that situation, that is exactly what you have to do. I mean, you have your rights, right? You have the right not to speak to someone who doesn't have a warrant for you, and you have the right to even not open the door if you're in your own home. So it's just really, really, really.
Yeah, definitely in your own home. If you're home, you're not required to speak to anyone. You're not required to let anyone in to take a look around. If they have a warrant to execute, then they can execute it. But if they're just there to ask questions, you're not required to answer those questions. It gets a little harder and trickier and more precarious when you're driving around, because when you're in a car driving around, your expectation of privacy is greatly, greatly reduced. And so at that point, officers can ask you for your identification. Anyone who's ever been pulled over knows they're going to ask for license, registration. If you don't have anything, they're going to ask other questions simply to try to identify who you are. So first and foremost is to recognize and remember that if you're in a car, then you're in a zone of jeopardy, because the questions can be more intrusive and the officers have a lot more leeway in what they can ask you in those circumstances. And again, what we're trying to avoid here, or not what we're trying to avoid, what we're trying to make sure people understand is that this is a real concern, because again, they may be looking for particular people, but we don't want folks who maybe are just in the middle of a regular immigration process, to get ensnared in this, and then suddenly they find themselves in a bad situation that ultimately we hope will be cleared up. But we want to prevent it from happening in the first place, because it's very difficult. It's very difficult for a local police officer anywhere to know much about the ins and outs of immigration law. And if they're suspicious and they have questions, then they may feel like they have a duty to take further action. And then you find yourself in the middle of a legal headache that maybe you can avoid if you're just more careful to begin with.
And detained, right?
And detained, absolutely.
And being
detained.
questioned and held until you can show your documents. So that brings us to our first tip and our first recommendation. I think we've done a bunch of tips already, but one for people. Look, we are, as John mentioned, we're an immigration law firm. We've been in business since the year 2000. We've been through a lot of ups and downs of immigration. There was tons of enforcement after 9/11. John and I were kind of reminiscing and talking about and preparing for this, how, we would go at the end of the day and, not a cost. A cost is too strong a word, but wait for the judge to get off of the bench and explain to them how important it was for them to give our client a bond, so that the client could then go to their ICE hold, and whether ICE was going to hold them or not, if it couldn't happen, the whole process couldn't happen if that, Norfolk court judge would not give our client a bond. Anyhow.
Yeah, we would see this all the time. You have a client, there's a domestic dispute, police come out, get arrested. You go down to the magistrate and they set a bond hearing for you, and maybe your immigration status is unclear at that point. And so you're held no bond until you have this bond hearing. In the meantime, the magistrate's office or the jail, not the magistrate, but the jails would then call immigration, because they'd say, hey, we got somebody here. We're not really sure. Again, these are local law enforcement. They don't know immigration law. And they would contact immigration, say, we have somebody here that we're not sure what their immigration status is. Immigration would say, okay, we want you to hold them for a little bit until we can investigate and figure out.
We come down,
and talk to them, figure out what we're going to do. Well, the state law is one thing, and then federal immigration law is something entirely different. They're two separate avenues, two separate lanes to be in. And so you can get a state court bond on the criminal charge in state court, and you also are eligible for an immigration bond if there is an immigration proceeding that is lodged against you. And so you can be out on a bond on that. But what we were seeing over and over and over again was state court judges being unwilling to grant a state court bond, because they were afraid the person was going to be released and that they were going to get, I think they just were afraid they were going to get in trouble for letting somebody out into the custody of immigration because they didn't know what that meant or where that was going to lead. So what they would do is just deny the state court bond and say, well, there's an immigration hold and I don't know what to do, so we're going to hold them. And as Radlin said, yeah, we would basically find these judges and explain to them that we couldn't ask for an immigration bond until the state court bond had already been posted. And so until that state court bond was posted, these folks were just in absolute limbo and they were in custody while this was pending. So
not a good situation at all. So that brings us to what the 12th tip. So if you are undocumented and you are going through a process, and when I say undocumented, I mean somebody, if you've come in on a tourist visa and you've overstayed, you've come in on a student visa and you've overstayed, and let's say you are getting married to a US citizen, very, very typical case for us. You need to carry your documents with you right now. You need to make sure that you have the receipt, the I-130 petition receipt that your spouse filed on your behalf. If you already have the green card receipt, the I-485 receipt, carry the green card receipt with you. You don't want to get stopped, pulled over, and have any questions at all about your status because, again, we're talking about local law enforcement here. We're in Virginia Beach, Virginia. That's where our main office is located. We do assist clients all around the United States and, of course, the world. We're an immigration law firm. But here in Virginia Beach, Virginia, we're not a border town, right? But we found sometimes that the Virginia Beach police officers are like, what's your immigration status?
Right.
The local judge, what is your immigration status? And they're not necessarily going to know what documents you're holding in your hand, but at least you have something. If they take you in, let's say you get charged with a driving under the influence, a DUI, you get taken in. There's going to be a question as to whether they're going to be able to give you bond or not. You know, if you say, well, you know, that you don't have a driver's license or whatever the case may be, but you actually have your documents, there is a chance that they are going to let you out on your own personal recognizance or, you know, a bond. So if you're in a process, please, please, please carry your documents with you right now. I made a video a couple of days ago on TikTok, and my question was, if you are a U.S. citizen and you get stopped by the police or you get stopped at a checkpoint, are you going to tell the officer, the agent, whether you're a US citizen or not, right? And the vast majority of you said, yeah, absolutely. I'm going to tell them that I am a US citizen. And, you know, now that's just US citizens, right? If you get pulled over, your wife is driving, she's a US citizen, you know that your spouse is undocumented, but you're in the process. This is a little bit of a 50-50 ball, right? John and I were talking about this. If the officer, you know, this stop is because your wife was speeding, he asks for her driver's license and registration. She gives the driver's license and registration, all good. He sees you and he says, hey, can I see your ID too? Right? Now we're a little bit outside of the scope of, you know, what this whole stop was for. And why are we asking the passenger for identification? Why are we asking the passenger for their immigration status is? This actually happened to one of our colleagues, and she mentioned it on TikTok that her client actually got arrested. The same exact scenario where it was a traffic stop. The police started asking questions about her husband, who was undocumented, but going through the process, they took him in. They arrested him. I mean, I don't know what he said, but he probably said a lot, right, for them to take him in. Thankfully, they released him, but still, you don't want to go through that trouble, that hassle. Trust me, we've sat in our conference rooms with wives who are upset, crying. They've got their children in tow. Main breadwinner is detained. That's not good. So if there's, and they came to us, some of them came to us because we were actually representing them and this happened. And, you know, our client didn't have the documentation, and, you know, maybe even if they did, they still would have done the same thing. But still, you want to make sure that you have your documentation if you're going through a process And if worst case scenario comes, you can show them to the magistrate. You can show them to ICE, and hopefully they'll let you go without a bond and certainly not detain you.
Yeah, as Radlin said, I mean, we're not in a border town, and again, if you're
A
watching,
lot of you guys are, though.
yeah, a lot of you are, and if you're watching the news, you might be thinking, when you think undocumented, you're thinking of people literally, crossing the border in the middle of the desert, this kind of thing. But as Radlin pointed out, your status is still uncertain and still in process. If you say came here on a student visa and then you fell in love, you married a U.S. citizen, but your case isn't over yet, that's the kind of situation where you want to make sure that you have some documentation. So if something comes up, you're able to show that you are in the middle of something. And usually that's going to be enough. Local law enforcement, if you are forced to and you show them something from immigration that shows you've got a case pending, 99% of the time that's going to be the end of it. They're going to look at that and say, all right, they're not sure exactly what it is. They just know it has your name on it. It's official and you've got something pending, and that's enough. But if you don't have anything, that's where you start to have a real problem. If you're driving and you have no identification and then you start getting asked questions about your identification, that's murky, and that leads to trouble.
Right. And again, it's tough, especially for our clients and the clients that we have represented. They're generally just honest guys. I mean, they're going to, sometimes John would be representing people, and he's like, well, I'm going to culpable, right? Culpable. I'm going to plead guilty because I am guilty, right? And they're just honest guys. But if you're going through a process, especially, you just really need to be careful about what you're saying and invoking your rights to not speak to law enforcement and to say, hey, I want to speak with my attorney. Guys, this is stuff that we teach our children, right? We teach our nieces and our nephews. We teach our neighbors' children. Love law enforcement, but we're not talking to you, okay? We're not talking to you, because cooperating with police often leads to you getting handcuffs put on you.
Almost always.
Right. So this is not just a recommendation that we're giving to you all. It's recommendation that we give to all of our family members, our friends, the people that we know and love, because we've seen it time and time again. And again, law enforcement, they are doing their jobs. Everyone has a job to do, and that's their job. So just be really, really careful when you're speaking with law enforcement. And I remember the very first time in court when I had to object to a police officer. It was the scariest thing that I ever had to do up until that point. I was so nervous, and I was in court and I was an attorney. So I can imagine how difficult it would be for you, who's getting pulled over, stopped in the street, whatever, to say, hey, I don't want to talk to you. But that's exactly what you need to do if you're in that situation.
Yeah, and this is all going to be unfolding. That's why we're going to start coming on once a week again to give you updates and see where things are going. Again, right now, it's what I call like the tier one. I mean, the folks that are being targeted right now are very specific people with very specific backgrounds, criminal charges, deportation orders, but it will expand at some point when they're satisfied that they've got a lot of the tier one folks that they were looking for. They're going to move on, and they're going to move down to tier two, and it's going to be a wider net. And the farther along you are in your immigration case, the better. And the more documentation you have to show that, the better. And the less that you talk to law enforcement, the better. And the less that you put yourself in a position to be talking to law enforcement, the better.
Let's talk about that for a second. When we talk about putting yourself in a position, right? If you are undocumented, please do not drive like that. And I know that's super hard for people who have to get to work. But that's the number one way, right? I mean, that's how our clients have traditionally gotten into the, into the world of ICE and
Yeah.
because of a driving infraction,
That's
right? I
number
mean,
one.
you have a no, you get pulled over, you don't have a driver's license. I mean, in the Commonwealth of Virginia, no operator's license is a Class 2 misdemeanor, right?
It is.
And that means they can take you in for
Absolutely. It's a
that
jailable
stop.
offense.
It's a jailable offense.
You can be arrested for driving without a driver's license.
Now in Virginia, we still have the driver privilege card. So if
Yeah.
you are in Virginia, or if you are any state that offers something like that, go get it. Go get the identification. Go get the driver privilege card or the identification. So you can, if you get pulled over, you can actually show identification.
Yeah, because I mean, hopefully many of you have it already. That's a great thing to have. That's going to solve it right there. You show that, they're going to write your information. They're going to give you a summons. They're going to tell you to come to court at a later date, and that's the end of it. It's not a huge deal. I mean, unless you have a prior record of some sort. But if you have nothing, again, that's where you have a problem. And driving's not the only thing. I agree with Radlin. Driving is the number one. That's the easiest way to put yourself, on the radar of law enforcement. I mean, we've all been there. Radlin and I just drove to Atlanta and back for the college football national championship.
Go Bucks.
Go Bucks. That's right. National champs.
And shout out to my mother-in-law, Georgia Gardner, who is joining us today.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right. Hi, Mama. I see you there now. We were driving back and we were going through South Carolina. I always drive the speed limit or, just a hair above. Radlin knows I'm not a heavy speeder. And we went by a state trooper. He pulled out right behind us. And I was just like, I was nervous. I was sweating. I was like, I know I was going the speed limit, but I'm looking at the inspection sticker. I'm just thinking about what could be the reason. He wasn't for us. He went right by us. But it's unnerving anytime you're going to be dealing with law enforcement. And that's why if you don't have anything, you're in a real pickle because you're going to talk to them. You think you won't, but you're going to be nervous and you're going to think you can just talk through it, and you can't. So make sure that you have something with you. Beyond driving, I just want to throw out some others. Domestic disputes are a huge one, and drinking normally is what causes it. So if you have a habit of having wild, Saturday nights at home where everybody gets drunk and fights break out and the cops come out, you may want to, stop that for now. And forever.
Okay. Not just for now. Right. Yeah. That's true. Domestic assault and battery is a big one. So
yeah. If you're watching the football game tonight, if you're watching the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills, don't be out on the street after the game getting into a brawl with people about who won the game. And then the Virginia Beach police show up and start rounding everybody up and throwing them in the back of paddy wagons. It's just unnecessary to put yourself in those positions because you're going to, even if you have a case, like I said, even if you have a case pending, you're that student visa holder who is now married to a U.S. citizen and you've got your cases going great. You don't want to be getting arrested. It's just terrible. So avoid it if you can.
Yeah,
and you
absolutely.
can. I know you can.
Yes,
okay.
For sure. And then, little things with your car, right? Your car needs to be street legal. Like fix the busted out tail light. In Virginia, you cannot have things dangling from your rear view mirror. They just don't give them any excuse to pull you over.
Right.
And there are different, I'm sure there are different rules in all the different states about, what is a street legal car and whether you can have things dangling in your rear view mirror. But these seem like really small, silly things, but we have to, if you're in that situation, you've got to take all the precaution that you need to take, right?
Because I guarantee you right now, at least for now, this could change, but at least for right now, the Virginia Beach Police, the Norfolk Police, local jurisdictions, wherever you are in the United States, these are local law enforcement. They are not out there right now searching for people that are undocumented, hoping that they get somebody and can call ICE and turn them in. They're not. They're literally just on their normal routine patrol. And when they see something, they're doing what they always do. They're acting on it. Headlights out, they pull you over. But then things can snowball and escalate, and that's where you have a problem. Yep. So the best protection of all is just to keep yourself off of the radar with law enforcement.
Absolutely. Okay? And we don't, again, we're speaking to all the folks out there, but it's specifically to the people who have cases that are in process. I mean, just it's too much stress on your family, right? You're either going through this process because of a family relationship, such as, you know, you're married to a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident, or maybe your child who is over age 21 is in the military and petitioning for you, or you're an employer and you're assisting an employee in going through this process. It is not worth the stress, the hassle, the extra money that's going to cost on top of everything else. Just,
you're already stressed enough just from the uncertainty of it. We know, we know.
Right.
So
absolutely.
Don't add to it.
All right. I mean, that's a lot. I think that, you know, that's the main thing, the tips as far as, and recommendations about what we wanted to share with you as far as trying to keep yourself as safe as possible during these uncertain times. And, you know, our hearts go out to the folks who are feeling this way and are in this situation. Like I mentioned, for the past 25 years, we have represented people who are going through the immigration process. And yes, the vast majority of them were undocumented, right? They were out of status. They crossed the border. They were not in status. And currently we have clients who are undocumented. They're not in status. And we are going through this process with them to get them lawful permanent residency in the United States, either through a family member or through an employer. And there's tons of uncertainty. We're hearing it from our clients. We've been hearing it all week long. The fear, what's going on with my case? Even naturalized U.S. citizens who have recently naturalized with us have become U.S. citizens and they have the blue passport. It's like, am I going to get arrested? Am I going to get deported? Is this too new? And so, you know, it's a really tough landscape out there for the people who are in our circle, right? Who we represent, our employees, of course, our team, going through it because they see this, just this uncertainty and fear within our client base and the community around. And, you know, sending lots of just, you know, lot of love out to you guys. And we're going to do our very best to continue to help people where we can. Let me just do another tip. We're in Virginia Beach, Virginia. We represent people from all around the world and all 50 states. Guys, if you're undocumented, you have family members in the United States, and you've never talked to an immigration lawyer, right? Go talk to an immigration lawyer. It doesn't have to be us. It'd be great if it were us. But please do not be afraid to pick up the phone and make an appointment with an immigration lawyer at this point in time, because this is exactly the time. I just spoke with my cousin's wife, and she said, I have a friend and, you know, she's scared. She's been crying. She's been here for 30 years. She has children. They're U.S. citizens. Has she ever spoken to an immigration lawyer? I don't think so. People are even afraid, and always have been, to even just pick up that phone and talk to an immigration lawyer. But y'all got to do it now, because especially if you have children here who are over the age of 21. I'm not saying that is going to be the be all, the end all, but you have to look at every different angle. And I'm shocked at people who wait years and years and years and years. And then I say, oh yeah, we could have done this, 15 years ago. Oh, I wish I would have come to you sooner, but I was too scared. We hear that all the time. So don't be afraid to talk to an immigration attorney.
You got to start at some point. I mean, the folks that, contacted our office years ago, got their green cards and then naturalized, they're U.S. citizens, they're not as nervous.
Yeah.
All right.
They're not as nervous.
They're just enjoying Netflix tonight and relaxing because
Or the game.
they don't
No,
know.
they're watching us tonight.
Oh, that's right. Or us. That's right. That's right.
Wait,
Not
someone on here said that they followed us since the beginning, since
Yeah.
and now I believe she's a U.S. citizen or her
Mhm.
spouse is U.S.
Yeah,
Here
I
he is.
saw that.
Hi guys, this is from Jasmine. I have been watching you since I was engaged. Now I am married and my husband is here in the United States. That's awesome. That's exactly what we're
Right.
talking about. It's just step by step by step by step. And you can do
Yeah,
it.
and this is I think a good time to also just remind everyone in this community that everything that's going on with immigration right now, nothing has changed with just the normal legal immigration processes, okay? Like all the avenues that were always available are still available. So if you're thinking, oh gosh, I know I'm eligible to do X or do Y, but I'm not going to do it now, that's crazy. All right.
That's crazy talk.
That's crazy talk because there's, they haven't, no immigration laws have been revoked. I mean, you can still do all the things that you could do legally. So continue to make sure, like Radlin said, if it's not us, then call someone that you're comfortable with. And make sure it's an immigration lawyer. I'm not trying to bash other attorneys, but really be careful with the lawyer who does, personal injury, wills and estates, criminal defense, tax law, and immigration. Okay. Or any variation like that.
Yeah, they really should have a
Immigration is a very specialized area of law, and you really need to talk to somebody who does it, and that's all they do and have been doing it for a long time. Okay.
awesome.
We obviously fit that description, but you might have somebody else in mind, and that's fine.
Yes, let me introduce ourselves again. Reintroduce. My name is Radlin Mendoza. I am immigration attorney and co-founder of Gardner Mendoza Immigration Law, and this is my law partner and partner in life, husband.
That's right.
We started a law firm 25 years ago. I can't believe this is our 25th anniversary year. We're super excited about it. We're here to help, and we're excited about being able to share the information with you. Unfortunately, it's under these circumstances, but together we can get through this. We did this first Trump administration, COVID, Biden administration. I mean, we've been appearing live for now over 3 years, and we're happy to be back. We took a little bit of a hiatus, little break, but it's great to see you guys, and it's great to see all the questions, which we are going to get to right now.
Yeah, we have a comment down here real quick. Jenny Mata.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, Jennifer. I saw Jenny. I was like, I think I know who that is.
Yes.
And she said, it makes me feel so helpless, the uncertainty. And, that encapsulates, that's exactly what people are feeling right now. And I'm glad you said that, Jennifer, because really what you can do to not feel as helpless and to not feel as uncertain is to take the steps that you can take if you're in a position to. You can reach out to an immigration attorney to find out exactly what your options are. And you can just continue to educate yourself and tune in with us to find out what's going on. So you're not relying on, Instagram or Facebook or the New York Times for that matter to find out what's going on. Because if you watch the news, and I've been scraping it for days now because, just trying to make sure that we are current on everything that's going on. You're going to see things that are going to make you feel really sick because you see, oh, there was a raid in an apartment in Chicago and they could be coming to my house tomorrow. And you got to be careful. It's like, oh, okay, wait a second. That was an apartment that was, being run by a gang where they had targeted groups that they were looking for. So try to just take a step back, educate yourself, contact people who know what's going on, and not panic. Mindful though that there's more to come. This is only the beginning for sure.
Yeah, and I have to reiterate that if you know that if you don't know what you don't know. Let's just put it that way. Number one, you don't know what you don't know, right? John and I, we haven't filed our taxes. A professional files our taxes now because we don't know what we don't know. I mean, the tax code is huge. The Immigration and Nationality Act, huge. And so if if you're undocumented and you have close family members here in the United States, or maybe somebody has filed for you before, right? And it didn't go anywhere, you need to speak with an immigration attorney. If you spoke with an immigration attorney 5 years ago and they said they couldn't do anything for you, you need to speak to an immigration attorney again, because things may have changed. So we just really can't emphasize that enough. One of the things that I say is, you're you're kind of you're kind of partly to blame if you don't go talk to someone, right? Some people even know they can do something, but they don't go speak to a professional. So don't be that person. Go take the bull by the horns. Find out, is there anything that can be done for me and my status, right? Because knowing is half the battle, 75% of the battle. And if there's nothing that can be done, then at least you don't have to think about that anymore, and it's not something in the back of your head. All right. So let's get questions. I know we've been like on our soapbox for a really long time here.
41 minutes.
It's so important, guys. It's so important. Just
well, we're trying to turn the temperature down just a little bit, because like Radlin said, we've been getting a lot of calls, a lot of questions. Everywhere we go that we know somebody, they're asking. Everybody wants to know. Friends of ours from law school want to know what's going on with immigration. I mean, this is obviously really big news. It's really capturing the attention of everyone right now. And the best thing you can do right now is to educate yourself so that you know what the options are.
All right? And it's tough these days to find the real truth. It really is. It takes a lot of hard work to find the real truth about what is going on. But you can do it, and you need to do it. And it'll be well worth your time, because like John said, I think that knowledge is power, and that it will make you feel less uncertain. And if you are undocumented, you need to speak with an immigration attorney to see whether there's something that can be done with your case.
Right. Okay. First question we have is coming here from TikTok. This was a very early one. Can someone with 2 dismissed petty larcenies being married to a U.S. citizen, can they be granted a green card?
Probably. This is the fun part of the live stream. All right.
Yeah, probably. So
Aaliyah.
So let's address the dismissed petty larceny charges right out of the gate here.
How were they dismissed?
If these were truly dismissed, if you or whoever you're asking for was charged with petty larceny, they went to trial and the charge was dismissed on the merits. They were found not guilty and the charge was dismissed. And it happened even twice. Okay. That's nothing. They have no criminal record. So they're going to be in the same category as anyone else being married to a U.S. citizen trying to get a green card. Here's the wrinkle here, though. The wrinkle is that a lot of states, including Virginia, have deferred action issues and resolutions for larceny charges. And what I mean by that is the charge gets dismissed, but not on the merits of being not guilty, but on the fact that you're otherwise an all-around good person. It was a one-time mistake that you made, and they say, look, don't do it again. Be of good behavior. Maybe do some community service, whatever it may be in your jurisdiction. And if you do all those things and you don't have any more trouble, you come back here a year from now, we'll dismiss the charge. All right. That's dismissed for state court purposes, but it still lingers at that point as a potential immigration problem.
Right. And conviction.
So it really depends on how the dismissal occurs.
Let's see the certified disposition. We would need to see the certified disposition. If you don't have those yet, get the certified disposition for the petty larceny.
Yep.
Was it all under the same thing? Was it under one scheme, or these 2 different times? Was it a deferred fine, as John mentioned? And also, Aaliyah, did you enter with inspection, right? Did your spouse enter with inspection? Can they adjust their status?
Yeah, that's getting to the second part. Yeah. Being married to a U.S. citizen, can they be granted a green card? As Radlin just said, that would depend a little bit on what those circumstances. But Possibly.
Aaliyah, this is
Certainly possible.
yeah, this is Aaliyah. It's right up our alley. Give us a call for that.
Yep.
That's I used a little, play on the word, play on the name there.
Yeah.
Hopefully Aaliyah's still here.
Yeah. Hope that answers your question, Leah. You should absolutely call us because we can find out more information and then know immediately exactly what your options are.
Oh my God, I have to answer Joe's question.
All right.
Joe. This is a good question. Joe says, do you from YouTube? Thank you, Joe, for this question. Wonderful question. You guys listen up. Super important. Do you recommend waiting for one partner to get LPR first, lawful permanent residency first, and then file for their spouse, or file now with a U.S. citizen born child and then apply for a waiver through their LPR partner? You know what? When I first saw this question, I didn't think it was this question. Let me read that one again. I thought it was a different question. The question that I thought it was, hold on for 1 second, Joe.
Because this will help other, what she's going to say will help other people.
Right.
That's right.
I thought the question was, I am a permanent resident. Should I file for my spouse now, or should I wait until I become a U.S. citizen? The answer is you should file for your spouse now, because that is going to be your priority date, right? It's the date that you file is the date that you file, even when you become a U.S. citizen. So if you wait until you become a U.S. citizen, let's say it takes you 2 years to become a U.S. citizen, you've already got time in and it takes you 2 years. Then you file the I-130 petition for your spouse as a U.S. citizen. You've lost all those 2 years of being in the line, moving up in the line, moving up in the line, moving up in the line. You lost all of it because you never got in the line as a permanent resident. So guys, if you have people who are your friends or your family members, like, I'm a permanent resident, but I'm going to wait the full 5 years before I petition for my husband. Please tell them to get in line now as a permanent resident, because people think that it's going to just be so much faster once you become a U.S. citizen. The fact of the matter is you're still going to have to get in that line, and you might as well have a few years under your belt if you can. All right, let's see what Joe's question is. Do you recommend waiting for one partner to get permanent residency first and then file for their spouse, or file now with a U.S. born child and then apply for a waiver through their LPR partner? So their U.S. born child. Okay. So their child is a U.S. citizen, right? And is the question, Joe, whether your U.S. citizen child should file for you, or whether your permanent resident partner should file for you? I'm not even sure where the waiver
I was
comes
wondering
in.
that too.
So I don't know where Joe is. Joe, are you in the United States or outside of the United States? So there's a lot here that I can't answer the question because I'm not exactly sure. But if you are in the United States and you have a U.S. citizen born child, the child is over the age 21 or older, then that is going to be faster than if your permanent resident spouse files for you. You say partner, but a partner cannot file. There's no fiance visa for permanent residents. So if you're in the United States and you can do adjustment of status through your child born in the United States who is 21 or over, then that is faster than a permanent resident spouse filing for you. And if you're out of status, then also it's the U.S. citizen born child. You are an immediate relative to that U.S. citizen born child, and therefore you can adjust status with no waiver required. Hopefully that answers your question. And if you want to add more details, I'm happy to get more into it. All right.
Okay, we had this one was posted a bunch. The I-130 processing time for immediate relative.
Oh yes, from
filed
YouTube.
Last November 2023, and still nothing.
So right now, I-130, I just looked it up. Norme is 16 months. Is that 16 months? I'm not sure. So January of 2023.
12 to November 2024. Nope. You're at 14 months. November 2024 Yeah, you're
It's
only
16 months.
You're at 14
It's
months
coming
right now.
soon.
It's coming
It
soon.
wasn't 14 months and now it's at 16.
Yeah,
It's a bummer.
you got a couple more months there.
Yep. And then of course, when you file, if we're talking about consular processing here, guys, when you file the I-130 petition, that's just one step of the case, right? And your spouse is abroad. That's 16 months. Then you do National Visa Center processing. But before you get to National Visa Center processing, USCIS needs to transfer your case to the National Visa Center. That's going to take 30 to 60 days. National Visa Center processing, maybe a couple of months there, depending on how quickly you can get documentarily qualified. And then finally waiting for an interview. So if you're in a country where interviews are backlogged, then, they're backlogged. And that could be another 6, 8, 10-month wait, or it could be fast depending on what country you're in. Hopefully that answers your question, Norme, which you posted like 12 times. Hopefully it was like a slip of your finger and not just being annoying. I'm sure you weren't, though. I'm sure you weren't.
All right. This is a really vague question. So will change of status be affected at all?
I think they're probably, Callum is probably talking about adjustment of status. Right now, no.
And I'm assuming when you say affected, you mean affected by the changes that are happening right now with immigration. No, that's what we were talking about a little bit earlier. The normal processes that are there are still there. So all of that is completely unchanged.
Right. With adjustment of status, marriage and fiancé visas, we don't do removal work. We don't do deportation work. So we don't go to deportation to immigration court on behalf of our clients. If you are in removal proceedings or, and you need an attorney, please reach out to us because we do have a network of attorneys that we may be able to refer you to.
Depending on where you are in the country, we can absolutely help you find a good lawyer to help you out.
Right. We do file motions with immigration court, right? We file motions to change venue. We filed motions to terminate, but only as it relates to like trying to get it out of immigration court and into, adjudication by USCIS or some other manner. I like this other question here.
The context here.
Let's see. Joe says, Mom is currently doing the 245I, but her partner doesn't have status here. Does he have to wait for her to get her LPR, or can he file through U.S. born children? That depends on, he says partner. That means mom's not married. So in order for a U.S. citizen child to petition for this is important, guys. In order for the U.S. citizen child to petition for their step parent, that parent must have married the biological parent prior to that child turning age 18. So the fact that you say partner, maybe they are married. I don't know, but give us a call. Let's work it out. We charge about $200 for a consultation. It's actually $199 right now.
Mm-hmm.
So you can give us a call at 757-464-9224 in order for us to help you out with, figuring out what's best for your mom's partner. I love 245I. Why are we doing 245I if we have US? Okay, maybe she entered without inspection. Okay. All right.
Okay, we've got some more questions over here on TikTok. Ella wants to know, I'm trying to get military parole in place, but I also have DACA. Can I keep renewing my DACA while waiting?
You should renew your DACA while waiting. Guys, do not get rid of your underlying benefit because you're going over to another benefit.
Yep.
You should absolutely keep renewing DACA. What if PIP goes away, right?
Yeah.
File that parole in place ASAP, please. Right now, file it. I don't see military parole in place going away, but who knows?
Yeah. And we've seen if you have DACA, keep it. We know that DACA has been a ball that gets bounced around quite a bit.
Yeah. Let me grab Raymond. Raymond says, I've been owning a small dental lab for almost 2 years. Can I sponsor someone for EB3 skilled worker category green card? Yes, if it's in the, depending on the job title, yes, you can. It's a process, Raymond, and it takes 3+ years. So here's what I want to tell the employers out there, especially employers who, employ or have a business that's in construction, landscaping, cleaning. Let's just say blue collar work. Okay. Um, you know what's going to happen. You know what's happening with your employers or potentially happening to your employers. As I mentioned at the beginning of this call, we had the privilege and the opportunity to help so many employers, construction companies, legalize a percentage, pretty good percentage of their workforce during 245I. And you got to do it again, right? You gotta look into the future and bring those 30 guys over here and spend the time, the money, the effort in building up your workforce. It's the only way. So yes, dental lab, EB3 skilled worker category, all day long. Do it. Give us a call if you need help with that. But for the companies out there, I mean, it doesn't have to be blue collar construction company. It doesn't have to. It could be a tech company. It could be a tech company that's growing. Got to go through this process. If you are uncertain about your workforce, you guys don't know how many times these construction companies told us, we don't want American workers. I'm sorry, we just don't. They don't come to work. They come to work drunk. They're da 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 da. The list is long, and it is company after company after company saying the same exact thing. And like I said, we were just kind of just right there, riding that wave and having these conversations with these employers and going into their businesses and seeing what they do and seeing what their workforce was like. So the time is now to do that, because it's just get in the line. That's the main thing. All right. Raymond, sorry, I had to go a little bit off on a tangent there, but yes, you can do that.
All right. Sorry, I'm trying to find my way back to the beginning of the TikTok. Duerme not only posted it in Facebook Live 12 times, but it was
Norme.
Norme, excuse me.
It's
Norme's
okay,
question
Norme. We
was
forgive
also
you.
put on TikTok about 30 times. And so
Norme.
Norme's, we
He's just
understand.
anxious. Yeah.
Yeah, he's,
All right.
Let's see. Here's a more obscure question. I don't know if you.
Yeah.
Does USCIS need to follow 90-day rule for parents for adjustment of status if they are present here on a B2?
So yeah, that question goes to whether they need to wait 90 days before they can do a adjustment of status for their parents who have entered the United States on a tourist visa. It's something that we recommend. If your parents, so we represent a lot of parents who their U.S. citizen children are petitioning for them. So if you're a U.S. citizen child, you can petition for your parent. You probably know that. If you're a permanent resident, no, you cannot. But the rule basically is, if you come into the United States and parents come into the United States and then 5, 10, 15 days later, they apply for adjustment of status, then it's going to come into question about why did they actually come into the United States? You're on a tourist visa, and it's impermissible to come to the United States with a dual intent of wanting to be a resident, an immigrant, when you're coming in on a non-immigrant visa type, such as the B1, B2. So the recommendation that we have is to wait 90 days before you file that adjustment of status. So hopefully that answers your question. If you need any help with that, we also do those all day long. Love those.
Yeah.
But here's a little thing. Just make sure your parents actually really want to be here and stay here. I know we want them to be here and stay here. We've had parents go back, right? After getting the permanent residency. Like, I just don't like it here in the United States. My life is more full, it's more rich. You guys go to work for 12 hours a day. You leave me in the house with the toddlers. And no, I want to go back home where, my life is a little bit less hectic and lonely. Who can relate to that?
And somebody here on TikTok said they haven't seen us for 6 to 8 months, so we know it's been at least that long.
Oh,
since
wow.
we've been here.
That means they missed us.
All right.
We appreciate that.
All right, we're 9 o'clock, but let's real quick. Phil wanted to know they're moving from Virginia to Washington. His wife just got her green card, and he wants to know what they need to be doing to change things when they get there.
Okay. So you need to change your address with USCIS if you are a permanent resident and you move. Guys, do that, please. AR-11. If you need help with that and you're a client, we help you with that. It's pretty straightforward to do. And so you got to change your address, number one. Let's see here. Wife just got the green card. Be aware of the expiration on your green card. I know that kind of goes without saying, but if you have a 2-year card, you're a conditional residence, make sure you file that I-751 in that 90-day period before your LPR expires. And also carry your green card. I used to tell clients that it was fine for them to make a photocopy of it because they didn't want to carry this green card around and risk losing it and paying a whole bunch of money to replace it. But you must carry your green card by law. I believe I'm not sure what it is. It could be a class 1 or class 2 misdemeanor if you do not have your lawful permanent resident on your person, if someone asks for it. So right now, guys, please carry your permanent resident cards with you, the original permanent resident cards. And if you have a 10-year green card, my question to you is, why have you not applied for U.S. citizenship yet? Are you telling yourself lies that you're going to go back to your country and leave your spouse and your U.S. citizen spouse and your U.S. citizen children here? Are you telling yourself lies that you have property there and property here and you're not going to be able to own it because you're going to go back to your country after you retire? What stories are you telling yourself that are holding you back from applying for U.S. citizenship right now because you are eligible? Somebody's story that they told me was because they've waited 25, 30 years that, oh, you know what? Trump is president now. This guy has a super clean case. He's the president now. I'm going to wait another 4 years because I don't want him to deport me. So that is that person's story. So when you are this long-term lawful or permanent resident of the United States, ask yourself, why have I not applied for U.S. citizenship yet? And then ask yourself the why behind that why and question whether that's actually really true. So I'm a huge proponent of applying for U.S. citizenship when the time, when you're eligible for it. And if you're otherwise eligible for it, I'm not going to go into the backstory of why. We'll share that story again next time, but it's near and dear to my heart.
We're over our time, but do we have time for one more real quick?
We always have time.
Just real quick.
My parents used to own a grocery store and we closed at 9 p.m. And there was always that one customer that we always had. One more question.
Because this has wanted to know. He said, can I apply? He got on early. Can I apply for citizenship if my green card is expired, or do I have to renew it first?
So it depends on whether you need your green card for something, right? Since your green card is expired, I'm assuming that you don't need your green card. You don't need your green card for work. Maybe you have your driver's license. It's already 10 years. You're not traveling outside of the United States. You don't necessarily have to renew your green card first before applying for U.S. citizenship. So, we used to basically file for U.S. citizenship, make an InfoPass appointment for a client, and then they would get temporary proof of their lawful permanent residency. But, they would sometimes give us a hard time if that green card was expired when we filed it, but it's worth a shot. But if you don't need the green card for anything, you do not have to renew it in order to apply for U.S. citizenship. And I'm assuming we're talking about a 10-year card and not a 2-year, of course.
Yeah. All right, there you go.
That's the last question?
No, I'm going to answer the very last question. The very last question somebody had was what our phone number is if they want to reach out to us. It's area code 757-464-9224. Again, that's 757-464-9224. Or you can email us info@gmlaw.net. That's info@gmlaw.net.
Yes, guys, and we're on all the socials, so follow us there, like us there. We will be pumping out information to you that is current, that is correct and that is hopefully not sensationalized. Sometimes we get a little
We'll just tell you,
sensational.
we'll just tell you the truth. We'll tell you how it is. All right.
All right, guys. See you next time. See
Thanks
you
for
next
joining
week.
us.
It's been
good
fun.
to be back. Yeah. Thanks for being patient with us. We're a little rusty, but
Nah, I think we crushed it.
We're all right.
2 thumbs up, guys.
2 thumbs up, guys. We will see
Thank you guys for all the love.
We'll see you next
It was
week.
fun to be
Okay.
back.
All right.
Take
Take
care.
care.